not share my joy, and then they're little smart
And then we get to
pants
agenda
where they
setting,
say
we
they're
can
running for
decide
Chick-fil-A, they always call it.
where we wanna put things.
That is not even playing.
That's me.
It's spiteful, we're good, we're on? We're super on. Alright.
So her policy is different.
You guys ready down there?
Those are like,
Yep,
We're live.
it's coming.
Sarah, but she can't make it today.
have another what? Oh, yeah.
Alright,
Yeah, there's usually three.
alright, you ready? Alright, it is 4:02 PM and I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We are the Communication Committee of the Board of Education. We are hosting this meeting in Village Hall, upper level conference room, 334445. We are beginning at 4, I don't know what time it is, 4:01, 4:02 PM. And this is being live broadcast via YouTube page. Was the meeting properly posted?
Yes, it was.
Alright, super. Alright, I will need some minute approvals for the August 22nd meetings. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion, I will second. Any questions?
No.
Alright, no changes for me either. Alright, Amy, you're at a
Okay.
glance.
All right. Year at a glance editorial calendar. Last month's focus was, since we met last month, back to school fair was successful and we received great feedback at the event, which was really cool. It was the first time we did it, so, we have a survey going out to families this week. We did share Plus Delta with our admin and leadership team and admin assistants. So we're gathering that, so we'll get everything together and look at everything and see, you know.
So the one thing that I loved it.
Yeah.
It was great for anybody who has kids in multiple schools. I thought it was a big win.
Mhm.
I wished that I would have known to look for more booths because like after the fact that I was like, oh, I was at the north table and then they said, oh, well, if you wanted to join the parent, then you had to look for a different booth. So part of me wonders if there's a way to, I know,
For sure.
hey, it's summer, just to give like a list of, hey, here's the booth, so I as a parent know which ones to like gun for and look for. Or a map or something, just to be able to say,
Okay,
hey, here's some usable guidance so that I actually handle the business that I need to handle.
sure.
It was really cool, but there's obviously you're socializing, you're seeing lots of people, there was lots of energy, it was, I
Yeah,
love
you
the
gotta like have a
food.
goal.
Yeah, it was
I
super,
gotta
but I
be
didn't even know to
there.
like look all,
In
and they're
the
like,
in the midst of it all.
absolutely, so,
In
Yeah,
some of
lots of
our
positive.
past conversations, we had talked about, is it possible to fit it all in the one area? We didn't really answer that yet, meaning all of
All in
the
one gym
clubs and
versus-
activities. And there's definitely some open space there, I mean, we'll see. But it was interesting, I was there for the full second day, sorry to make it the first day, I was closing on our house up north.
on the
But
first day.
I know, but the second day that I was there, you know, it was, you know, there was a little bit of a thing from transition from one area to the next
But it
area.
was clearly marked,
It
where if
was
you
clearly
follow
marked.
the arrows and go
Yep.
over this
Clearly
way
marked.
and,
Thanks.
Very
Good.
clearly marked.
And then as part of our back to school PR, we had families, and Michelle, you sent one in too as well. Big families send in.
I sure did, my kids really appreciated that
Yeah.
I took that discovery without their permission.
Oh, you did?
They were in school, I was gonna be like, you okay if I post? No, I went for it.
Yeah, so we posted
You're
and yeah, it was really successful. We had a lot of families
It
that
was
sent
so fun to
pictures
see
in
all the
and I'm still getting pictures from families, so I'm still posting and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that was I think that was when it was neat too then, because then I'm able to use those pictures then on our web and other places, so that was I was glad we did it. Also launched a news at SDMF schools for families for staff. Is an easier way to remember how they can get news to me, and I've had a lot of people actually using that, so it's been kind of nice, so then it's an easy to remember if you're at a football game and something happens and you take a picture and then you can just email news and I'll get it and we'll
Yeah.
post it and I think it's gonna be pretty efficient. Started up the staff newsletter and family communication or family community newsletter. The family and community newsletter is about 7,000 people that with all the lists that we have. So it does get a big reach of people, so it's been, and the open rate on that last year, the only was about 70%. So we're reaching a lot of people, so it's good. Board Bits is rolling strong, continuing to do website updates in my sleep. Staff in service, we recorded it, that was sent out to to staff, and it's also available on our intranet page as well. Messaging last month was, US News and World Report ranking. What's actually within the past month, because I think I did that last week. And then, we have one more. I have National Mirror, but that actually went today. And then updating the staff directory, our intern, Reese McLaughlin, she's wonderful. I told her I was gonna be that person to come into all of her volleyball games. She's working on branding email addresses and extra, identity pieces like that, so that we're on brand with all of our things. And she's also gonna be doing, our counseling for middle school and high school, created Google websites for which students can't access when they're at school with their Chromebook. So we have to take all of those sites and move them to our final site platform so that students can access that. So that'll be her next project to work on. She's been wonderful. She also too is doing, every year she has been, I think since she was a freshman, doing a Thanksgiving food drive. So she's gonna be doing that. We're gonna be making that bigger because now she's creating all the pieces and all the promos, and she's just wonderful. Also last month was annual meeting communications, obviously. And that's posted on our site, and that recording is also going in the community news today. Focus on the Falls episodes, we're doing school safety this month at the high school to showcase the safe and secure entrance, so we'll have Dan and David will be doing that with him. And then in November, we're doing the focus on the food drive that I just talked about. And then in that, we will also talk about, because she's an intern, we're also gonna use that as an opportunity to showcase that our youth apprentice program, because that's where she's doing the internship. So we can kind of pull a lot of things in together there. And then December, we'll do, like we typically do, a tax bill and budget with Caitlin to explain that. So that was last month.
Wah, wah, no.
Yeah. So, and then so far.
Just because you're not on finance anymore.
It's I guess it's kind of, exciting.
Very
And
well.
Caitlin loves it.
She does,
She loves
yeah.
it.
Well, and what
You
we
can see the
do-
passion.
I
People
agree
in
with
finance.
Shelley's glance.
Yes, harsh.
I'm just teasing.
Well, what we do
Those
then
are
too
sound
is,
effects they add to the viewing audience's
It was
pleasure.
good
Yeah,
though.
it's a variety of
Good.
subjects, right?
we package that usually around that time then we take a bill and we update it and then we explain it
Yeah.
and break it down so that people know what it is.
Yeah, I think that's helpful.
Yeah, and so.
So the one thing I was thinking is, obviously we had a smaller crowd this year.
Yeah.
But there were some key things, she has her PowerPoint presentation, and there was a couple key slides in there that
Okay.
talked about, hey, the differences. I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity via a newsletter or via Insta where people are
Sure.
Facebook, to be able to take some of those really impactful graphics
Mhm.
and then link to some of the supporting information that's on our webpage.
Sure.
Because I think that could be helping tell the story when people aren't able to attend the meeting.
Okay.
And then prepare them for, hey, more information's coming in December so that they understand it's an active conversation.
Yeah, Kayla and I are gonna be meeting within a week to kind of do a tabletop post review of the annual meeting to just look at what was great. I mean, it was really good. I thought it was a good annual meeting. But there's always things you can improve on in terms of, how it comes across. And every one that I have done is the 5th one that I've done. So there's always tweaks that you want to make, and Caitlin and I are going to look at that and we'll make sure to communicate it through, because we could even, we're not going to change any information that obviously was done at the annual meeting, but there's some that's more relevant than others, like the shock and awe thing about equalized value versus assessed value.
Mhm.
That was a big piece that sort of stuck out, and you wouldn't know that, but the crowd, they were very interested,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of good feedback about that. We could put some focus around equalized versus assessed value, because it's not easily understood.
I don't think there was a lot of shock in the room. I think we anticipated with values changing, that
Yeah.
that was going to be an area of focus. So I was grateful that she put the time in there. So again, people that may not see the email
Yeah.
or watch the recording, but at least if they can get snippets in other ways, I think that's important.
Or even like attaching the snippets, like when you attach the video or you know what I mean?
Or like an
Or-
outtake from the video.
Or even like the video that's posted like on the website, like on YouTube or whatever, like a link below or I don't know, something like
Yeah, we
that.
can even do things to that page, that
Yeah.
budget page, and just
Yeah, like
infographics
see below
on
or
pretty
refer
much-
them, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, to tell them.
Cause you know, listening to it with the link right there to, I mean, they could refer, it's right there, convenient.
Other thing, scorecard, Amy will be glad here because they're due tomorrow. So other things, been working on the scorecard, focus on the fall's planning through from January to March. I wanna get the next 3 months of that, planned out. Obviously, the communication policy, publicity package, once it's approved with infographic, social media posts, and, all that background, those pieces will roll out next for when it's approved. Editorial calendar still being updated for content planning out. Training new web coordinators, we have a couple of new web and social media coordinators in the district at the buildings, so making sure that they have what they need.
Can we talk about the athletic one for a minute?
Yeah, that is run through athletics, totally separate, I don't even have access.
I had heard there was a new one last year, and then
Okay.
I swear I saw, new to Schoology, but getting on board with Schoology, I thought I saw somewhere posted that there's maybe yet another new athletic page
Oh.
with new stuff going out there, because there wasn't stuff that necessarily had been updated, and so,
Okay,
again, I don't know if that was an old message that was floating to the top or whatnot, but
okay,
I
I can check with
I
Brian.
spoke to the athletic director about updating
Okay.
the page. He responded in email that they were behind, but they're getting to it.
Okay, yeah, they've been doing admin assistant.
But we had a specific conversation about it in an email conversation.
I was just curious,
Okay.
but also, I think I knew some of the, hey, let's play catch up and whatnot was going on. I swear I saw a reference that said, hey, there's a new page, so I was like, is that yet another new page? But again,
Oh,
I don't know,
okay, I'll check into it.
check into it.
Yeah,
let us know.
absolutely, yeah, and if
I
they
mean,
need help
part of
with
it is
updating.
athletics are an important part of our culture and we wanna be able to share and reference it, so
Yeah.
I wanna make sure people are going.
Yeah,
If they saved it as a favorite, they know that it's changed and
Sure.
where to go, so.
And then we can highlight that too then, because athletics here is huge, so.
Oh.
I mean, it's kind of a big deal.
It's
I might have
way
missed
more
it.
fun than
You said page, like a Facebook page?
it was in
It's a site, it's a
Schoology and it
whole
referenced the
site.
fact that there was a new
Oh,
athletic page coming,
okay,
like it
okay,
wasn't, and I was like, another one?
Okay,
But again, it could have been just more data grabbed or something.
and then recognitions and messaging coming up for October is the APP Center Award that we just found out. We received National Principals Month is October, National Book Month. We're doing the Go Pink for National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. National Bullying Prevention and Wisconsin School Appreciation, which is that first week. So what we'll do, I'll send you guys another something out again, and probably this year I'll do 3 questions so that people can get to know you guys a little bit better, and then you'll send me a picture and then we'll post you all over.
Okay.
You'll love it.
Yeah.
You'll love it, yeah, and then you can share it to your page, and then that helps us with
I'll
that.
share stories from my first grade,
There we go.
sagas from my first grade. that I
Make it
share
your
with
school
you.
pictures, that would be great.
Yeah, I could get a school picture,
So,
some of my
First grade.
eighties hair,
I have school pictures, I'm not sharing.
actually, that'd be kind of fun,
I
actually.
think that would be kind of fun.
Maybe I'll just share it in here with you guys.
Shelley's a chair, she
70s hair was
says
better.
yes or no.
70s hair.
I mean, I have access, I
I think
have
that would
them.
be kind of fun.
I mean,
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll see.
Okay, maybe not.
I mean, I already did,
Maybe.
but I feel like I'm gonna have to just relive that drama.
That'll be like the new
Trauma.
dartboard,
I can get there.
Chris's 80s
Hey,
hair.
opening in service, I put my 80s hair right there on a slide.
So maybe we do that, we do a throwback to grade school
Yeah.
pictures.
Do you wanna do that?
It's different in the 80s, for, well, I
Okay.
guess the guys that have some fancy views, but.
Alright, well, you give them
Okay.
heads up, then it's coming. Yeah.
I will. Are you okay with that? Do you have grade school pictures?
She does, she said the cutest grade
Done.
school
Grade
picture.
pictures.
Great school
So
picture.
cute.
Okay,
Wow.
Alright,
I'm not even kidding,
You
it's
know
so
how I
cute.
feel about social media.
She's
I
dressed,
don't do it.
dressed to the T.
That will be painful.
Give me dad's number,
Her
we'll make it
mom and
happen.
dad dressed her so
Well, I do it very little. I do it less than you.
so other than that, last thing is social media traffic, obviously with the beginning of the school year, we've just climbed. So it's good all across all of our platforms, we're doing really well.
That's awesome.
Other than that, that's all I have.
I just like smelling it. It smells
the 7,000 subscribers on the family and community newsletter, is that something that we promote through social media to encourage other people to join or subscribe, especially if they're not in the school district?
I posted, I actually can, that's a great idea to put subscribe here if you haven't, yeah, I do post it every week, but I don't do the asking for subscription, so.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
rather than like, hey, did you know you could subscribe or you wanna stay up to date with what's happening?
Yeah.
Especially as people start getting information regarding property
Community
taxes.
Okay,
It's for us.
It's not my fault. Thank you.
Alright, super, thank you. Next item is to review the 100-day plan.
Yeah, and in Board Connect tomorrow, so the email will be sent weekly to the board with communication. It's gonna have an even further update. But the color
Yeah.
sheet that I just gave you is the most up to date, that I had put some updates in as recently as an hour ago. So I'll just brief over it, but what I did is I broke out the initial plan into 30, 60, and 90, 100 days plus whole year sorts of things. So a couple of things I'll just reference up front. Meetings with the board president, we've established weekly meetings, which have been going really well. Sometimes they go a little long. I had to apologize to Joel because I missed a Joel meeting with, which
How come you didn't tell me?
I totally forgot about it.
Oh,
And that's when he was knocking on the door.
you said he was going to lunch, that's why I didn't.
Yeah, they were done with the meeting, but that's my fault. But it was really good. So we've had really good meetings, not only setting agendas, but having big picture conversations. I put that in there about, future items, things for the future. So, individual meetings with board members, we've done that. Reviewed the board calendar, everything's set for continuity of governance, which means elections and these sorts of things. We're ready for that. 160 item to be aware of, and I'll talk to Nina and the whole board about it, is norm setting in a board retreat. We don't necessarily have to do it. We could do some of this electronic and that, we could jump into that a little bit. The WASB piece, I put in a piece about that's a whole year kind of goal. There's been some PD, remember from last week's Board Connect about you can access virtual sorts of things that are pretty easy. Plus one thing I did list in there from the WASB PRG, the Policy Resource Guide. I think it's really healthy baseline. It's not like we have to copy all those, but it's a good baseline of information from the WASB. Goal number 2, the positive relations, collaborative, meaningful district-wide climate. Several things that are going on in that regard. Very thankful to the cabinet, including several sitting here, for all their help, like onboarding me and getting me up to speed on the things that I need to know with the transition. Other things that we're working on quite a bit with the learning component, obviously a big part of what we do aside from school safety. So I have regular meetings with administrators already set, regular protocols, and we're kind of setting all year meetings and check-ins already. So that's already happening inside of what's called the educator effectiveness system. One note you'll see in there about some work with some further evaluations with those that report directly to me that aren't in the EE system. Working on that, I've talked to Leah about it, and I know that that's coming quickly, some new documents,
Next week.
new protocols with that. So a couple other things dropping down a little further, you can see scorecard development, extremely well developed. Very impressed with the scorecard, Amy's work, specifically with the scorecard development, and the work with the teams. The continuous improvement approach is well developed, and we definitely have a specific kickoff. One piece of information I learned yesterday under number 3, under goal 2, sub 3 under the 90-100 day item. Cami Gibbons has been working with the district for several years. You'll notice it's down there next to ASA, it's the Association of Wisconsin School Administrators. Cami Gibbons is well-known statewide. She's doing some work with our administrative team with respect to feedback loops, other things as well. And that is continuing this year as well. So that is great. Cami's a pro, and I've used her in other districts, but not just me, but many have.
Yeah.
She has statewide positive reputation. Public trust and confidence, some of these things have to do with media outlets and communications, the center point of this committee. Some other things that I've been working on is the churches, synagogues, mosques, congregations. I have some of that done, but I'm not fully there yet. I've had some connections even at the annual meeting and invitations, but some of those things, that takes a little work to get there, but I've done some of that and we'll continue with that. Next item, the Optimist Club, really excited about that. I have joined the Optimist Club, I was there this week. I'll be doing the State of the District address in October, which is very good. I'm also a member of the library board for the village. Actually, that was the typing I was doing. So we're kind of working on me, because I'm the only one with a non-village email not being in the listserv. But I know people out in the tech world are working on that through the village so that I can see when my meetings are for the library board, which is next Wednesday for the next one. Other components, I've always been a member of the Knights of Columbus, that'll continue, I just have to transfer that once I establish a new parish, which we will soon. Let's see, I was just named today to the WASDA, Wisconsin Association of School District Administrators. You'll see a link, that was a new piece that I put in. So when Board Connect comes out, click on the link, you'll see it, it's from WASDA. So I'll be one of the advisory committees in the state of Wisconsin for what's called the Business Partner Program Advisory Committee. So I had requested a few different committees, that was one of them, but also legislative. You can request, but then you get what you get sort of thing. So, but I did get this one, which is great. But when you click in the link tomorrow, when that comes out, you'll see the whole list, you'll see the whole state. You'll see where everybody was appointed from wherever to be on which committees. Some parent organization groups, I know I'm meeting with a middle school organization, so that's some updating that I'll have done by board by the time you get your weekly communications. I am scheduled a little bit out there already with some parent groups, including with one that is pending for Ben Franklin, but that is with staff. So
Okay.
we'll have a Ben Franklin listening session, actually, Dr. Christensen and I will be doing that some point next week. I haven't seen my calendar yet, but
Next Thursday.
next Thursday, okay. So that's still kind of getting out there. So, which is great, we're looking forward to that. And also the music staff, I was excited about that. So the music staff's all pumped up about me getting my initial bachelor's degree from a conservatory college. So I'm happy to talk music with anybody,
That's
it's kind of fun. Those that don't know, Lawrence University has a pretty well-established and recognized conservatory. They may be, I wasn't a music major, but even though you're not, you still have to take a class in the conservatory, which in a high-flying conservatory is more challenging than what you might think. But that is many, many years ago.
Wow.
Okay. Last thing, organizational effectiveness. Some of the recommendations, I put school safety in there. Matter of fact, one of the updates that I'll get in here, even further update under the 60-day piece, is I just signed off on all of the camera upgrades that I've been mentioning, even at the annual meeting. So Troy and Chris and I just did that today. We have final quotes and we're looking at install by the end of October with those needs, which are needs,
That's
not
all
wants.
the buildings?
That was specifically high school, we should have all of the buildings locked in within a week. So we're working on that, but I'll make sure to report back to the board, actually in regular board communications. I just had a meeting about that today. Review of the audits and all of the money pieces, I think everybody's pretty much well understanding it, I got a pretty good handle on the dollars and cents, but Caitlin is outstanding, and she's a pro. She and I enjoy talking money, and we have a good back and forth with how we present dollars and cents, and we'll continue to get better at that together.
Awesome.
Review and research compensation structures, you'll see in your document, you receive digitally. Thank you, Leah, for sending that to me, but I scanned it into a PDF so it's easier to read. So when you hit see attached in the digital documents, it'll pop up all of the pay structures for the district. Okay, so just feel free to take a look at that digitally when you see that tomorrow. A few other things, I also have in the 10-year building maintenance plan, which is in there, where it says see attached under number 3 under 90, 100 days. It's an interesting document, something we need to put a little bit of work into as a board. Obviously not in this committee, but just big picture, some facility, we wanna reprioritize facility needs perhaps. You know, as I look around the district, I have some thoughts, you know, I've talked to Chris about them, Troy about them. Make sure to tie the board into those discussions about our facilities, some facility challenges that we have. Fund 46 is something that's gonna be coming up, that's a 5-year big picture thing. But that wouldn't cost the board anything, there's no cost to that in the short term, okay? Fund 46 it's a public rainy day fund, but it needs 5 years to initiate. So that's something that'll be coming to finance at some point in the future. And we conducted the retreat, so there's several things going on, obviously I skipped over many things here and there a little bit, but are there any questions? I continue to have a great deal of fun being in the buildings, I was in 3 buildings today.
How's that going?
It's going really well. I think staff and students are getting used to seeing me on a pretty regular basis, which is pretty natural for me, and it's how I go about this job. And
And how is your visibility in the buildings going with building administration and teachers?
it's going very well.
Good.
You know, I make sure to check in. You know, I don't usually walk in front doors just because, you know, I'm there for other reasons. I mean, I'm checking the building, you know, I wanna make sure things are safe all the time. It's a pet peeve of mine. But I think it's an important pet peeve, given my role and experience, and flexibility to move between buildings. You know, today where did I start? I was at the high school, I was at the middle school, the high school, then Riverside, and then Valley View. But I was able to get back here by 12:30, which is really good.
I heard you've sat in some classes.
I was in some classes, yes, that's true, and I don't always know everybody's children yet, so I don't know if I'm sure I bumped into whoever. I'm also doing a class, actually, first hour Monday at the high school, which is great. So they had asked me to stop in and be a guest speaker for a future educators class,
Oh, how fun.
so a future educators class. So I'll be there
Yeah.
I think 7:45, 7:50 on Monday morning.
So is that like sophomores and up then that have chosen the education path? I wonder if we could do more to get freshmen to consider education as their selection. So how many students do we have in that?
Don't know off the top of my head, we had just a handful of graduates, it's our newest
Yep.
academy, yeah, so.
Yep.
yeah,
But
I
just to
haven't
be
seen
able to like,
final
hey,
ones. Yeah.
get some opportunities and
You know, I
pump
think
it
every-
up so that
Yeah.
it lures people throughout,
Yep.
because I know they can't pick an academy. They have what,
Right.
between now and January or
Right, yeah, that's
to
what it's
pick an
been like
academy,
in
so
January,
to
so.
the extent that we can start.
We had some conversation about
It's
that
like
last
guaranteed
spring.
employment, I don't know
Yeah.
what else has that these
And
days, so.
that is absolutely true, in fact, when I was at graduation last year, I
Right.
said I should just bring Leah's card and hand it
Yeah.
out at graduation.
I'm sure Leah would enjoy that.
Now, I will say,
There
I'm
goes.
very interested in these young people.
Yeah.
But in my former district, I actually created a generic business card that said join our team with the HR contact information. And I gave every single, well, there it was like 200 people, but every single manager in the district, 75 of them to hand out as they engaged with people in their life.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a really good idea.
Do you have a sample?
Probably.
Okay.
So I think we could do that and give them to whoever wants them and happen to have a little stick in the classroom.
I've asked to be in some other classes as well, but that's in the future. I know that one just sort of developed over the last couple of days.
That's
I'm
exciting.
excited about it. But it's pretty natural for me to be in the buildings anyway, especially in middle school, because I get up early, so I mean, if I'm there at 7 o'clock, I'm like, well, they don't open the doors here till 7:30, so it all works for me. And I've told some of the middle school staff that, and they kind of laugh, and then I'm in class, or I think I was in science class, and this wonderful teacher, she has this skeleton there, and she put a hat on it because of, it was just a cool thing. I don't know, I forget her name, and I apologize for that, but it's been some really wonderful interactions. It's a good way to connect policy and the board work to what's going on in the buildings. You know, today I started to get pretty dialed into physical spaces. So Chris and I and Troy had some good discussions about some of the physical spaces in in particularly one of our 3-5 buildings, but it's been an excellent way. And parent communication has been good, a lot of parent meetings. I wouldn't say meetings, more interactions. Because I tend to meet and talk to parents wherever I'm at, which is good. It's always good to talk to parents. Any questions?
No, I would imagine when you're in the building, you probably have like certain things in your mind that you're focused on, because you can't focus on everything, you know, so like you said with the buildings and the space and,
Yeah, I'm always focused on school safety.
yeah,
I'm always conscious about, at the high school, it's a large building. Like when I was a high school principal, I ran a similar building that was, 8-9 acres from one end to the other under roof. I mean, regardless of who you are, you can't monitor all that space physically.
Yeah.
So you have to have systems in place and checks in place. The whole team, meaning your support staff, your custodial staff, have rounds and checks and these sorts of things. I'm really excited about the work with safety and the cameras. I saw some of the locations and some of that information, so within a month or so, those upgrades will be in place and operational.
Awesome. Sweet. The only thing I know that we had on there, and I don't see there's a need for it now, but I just always wanna keep it out there on the backlog, as I know that there is a desire for constant public interaction. So again, I don't wanna just put you in front of open session with our group, but to the extent that it's like, hey, coffee with you or whatnot, small little snippets, we'll get through the 100-day plan, but then as either topics come up or things happen, being mindful of, hey, that's really important in order to establish that open dialogue with our communities.
Some of those things are in the later 90 to 100 play aspect, as I'm looking at the live one. Plus the digital one is to expand and set systems for listening sessions with, I want to get the leadership teams in all the buildings. I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
But that's one of the goals in the 100 days, is to get to all the building leadership teams. But then start to pull out the parent groups after that.
We should
And making sure that the parents have, I know I'm scheduled at 1 already, I think it's at the middle school.
People like food, so maybe it could be like donuts with David or dinner with David.
I'm not supposed to eat donuts, but okay.
Yeah, and to do.
If you force me to, sure, I'll have a donut.
It's effective in when I've introduced another superintendent in the community to do the coffee circuit, so you go to McDonald's where, that group meets every morning to solve problems or,
Families or.
yeah, just in the regular places where they are, and you just set up
point.
camp
Yeah.
and you put your
Yep.
thing out and just, so,
Mhm.
yeah, we can do those things for sure.
Awesome.
Good.
Sweet. Alright, next up, open records.
So we've been, now our goal is to aggressively attack these, we've just had to get all that other stuff behind us first so that we can have a process. So we do have some timelines in place, and our requests from last year, we're down to now only 17 being open or pending. And for this year, we have the school year that started July, we have 4 requests, and we have 3 that we're working on right now that are open. 1 has been satisfied.
And I had a good meeting with one particular citizen who had put in a request or two, and it was a healthy conversation. We actually had a wonderful conversation, and I think that's a good way to, and I'm happy to do it more with whomever.
Yep.
To continue to say that the information is there, let's get it to you as quickly as we can. So we're gonna work on it, we'll put some focus on it. I know I've involved several administrators, several staff, several support staff here. And it's a focus of mine, so I sit on top of my desk to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do with that, but also that we get to the point where I started X date in July. Let's get to that point and clear everything going forward, so.
So I think one of the reasons that a lot of open records get driven is that there's just maybe not the transparency around some things, and so I know we talked a lot of, hey, is it in terms of, like, I know some of the things came in as people, I don't remember, maybe a year and a half ago, it was like, hey, we wanna see survey data and see comments, and so part of me is like, I don't know if people really wanna see the comments, but I think people wanna see the takeaways, the follow-ups, and so to the extent that we can become more regimented, and if we do a survey, families can be accustomed to within 30 days, they're gonna see results published, or whatever that timeline is, to be able to put that in a normal cadence, and then be able to communicate with families around what their expectations are, I think build that trust and camaraderie that we're following up and we're giving them more info, more maybe proactively, or maybe they don't feel the need to have to reach out and find out, oh, I took a survey and I never heard anything about it.
Yeah, and I think that's where when we talk too, like the next survey, we're almost like chomping at the bit, cause to get that, because we talked about doing the page where all survey data is gonna be, so that people can be like, oh, and here's the survey, and then you can click in and see
That makes
everything,
sense,
and everything will be there, so I'm like, when are we gonna have a survey so we can post some of these
Yeah,
results?
right.
Yeah,
That's a good
so,
idea.
but yeah, I totally agree with you.
So as these come in, it's just interesting to be able to flip and say,
Yep.
would there have been something we could have done, I don't wanna be like overreactive or overanalyze the requests as they come in, but certainly knowing the manual effort that you and others have to go into, is there something we could have done on the proactive side to serve up if need be? Some are so obscure that isn't meaningful, but
I think part of it, just in conversations I've had with several community members, I'll use attendance as an example. The way the state asks us to report attendance, they just say report attendance. But how we count truancy here is different than most districts. Meaning there isn't a standard way. For example, I'll be more specific. Some districts say you miss 1 hour, you're habitually truant. Some say it's a half day, some say it's a full day. So, John Q. Public looks at the data, pulls it and looks at attendance for 3 different districts and goes, why is theirs so much better? I'm like, well, okay, are we reporting like them?
Right.
If it takes a whole 2 days for something to be even marked as habitually truant, of course it's gonna look worse. So there's some of that that's baked into I call it the administrivia and the bureaucracy of the DPI. Or the one I used at the annual meeting was very intentional. There were 3 slides about graduation rate, right? So graduation rate is anywhere from 97 to 99%, which is very good. But anybody's mind, mine included, yours, anybody's is like, well, then we have a 1 to 3% dropout rate. That's not accurate at all. Now, based on the 4, 5, 6, and 7-year cohort. So for me to put those slides up was very intentional because not even educators, it took me 5, 6 years into the principalship to fully understand that the DPI was penalizing students, for example, being at an IEP. If you're a non-completer and you were to graduate, but your IEP says you need to go to school 2 more years, well, the state says you're a non-completer. So, they're not dropouts.
No.
They're doing what everybody says they should be doing. So that's, I think, part of that's a little bit of it too.
well, and it helps to tell our story and be able to look at, that's the thing that I get really excited when US News and those things come out, but then it's a matter of it's data in and then what do we do to put our flavor on it, not to skirt the truth or anything, but put it into the perspective of, hey, this is what we need to do to be able to say what this really means.
See, I'm personally pretty passionate about that non-completion thing. That's why I threw the slides up there. I've even gone and testified years ago at some graduation summits at the state level about it, like, come on guys, you gotta fix this. Like it's nonsensical. And they fix it to the point by calling it non-completions, not dropouts. So then you have to dig deeper to
But it
figure
sounds like they're just leaving it off, if it doesn't count in those first 4 years, they don't ever revisit it.
well, if you wanna get really specific, when you get to the Friday count in September for non-completers after their 4 years, if we don't count them by then, they are auto-dropped. So there's some things like that are just, they're not intuitive, but
Interesting.
once you're in the business and you're actually running a building or a high school in particular, Dan is aware, we've talked about it. But you have to be really, once they get through 4 years, you have to watch those count days, the 2 count days a year, 1 in September and 1 in January. So, because the state will just do something without your direct, That's just how it works.
Yep.
But some of that is, you can't click and find that anywhere.
Right.
And that's unfortunate.
And that becomes an opportunity for us to actually celebrate what our true graduation grade is and define that. So if those slides are really critical and important and they maintain, again, the excellence that we have, then hey, those should be a campaign that we say what falls.
One thing that Mr. Bauer and I had some good discussion about was redefining READY, which is nationally known program, but the state of Wisconsin has pushed pretty far with where we're at with redefining READY. So if you go to, I can send links or maybe I'll just throw it in Board Connect just so you can read about it. But it's a good way for a district to sell themselves and to kind of give a local snapshot that's more accurate about,
Because that's one of the measures that comes out in US News, that I remember it said, hey, readiness to graduate or readiness for college. And at
yes,
some point our number was like 47 and I was like, so how does that translate for a parent?
right,
Does that mean that 53% of the population that's sending their kids to school has to pay for remedial out-of-pocket college costs to close the gap? What does that exactly mean? So that'd be a nice focus to be able to say, hey, here's how we cover that spread and here's what's included and not included in a number like that.
Yeah, Mr. Bauer put some work into redefining READY last year, we had some good discussion about it.
Actually, when I was I'm so sorry, when I was the board liaison, I met with him about that.
Mhm.
And he actually forwarded me information on that, so I can actually forward to you guys. Because
Perfect.
that was in
Thank you.
particular with the high school, so he gave me emails that pertain to the redefining readiness.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
talked in depth with that when I met with him.
And it did start sort of a high school initiative, but it's become a district-wide thing. It was very high school-ish when it started.
Well, that's probably where it measures, but that's where the outcomes are achieved, but the reality is it starts at,
Yeah,
Okay.
you can back map it all the way to see what it takes
there you
in
go.
kindergarten to get,
Yes,
yeah,
yep,
Yes.
I like that.
so.
so and you can see it on the WASDA, www.wasda.org, Wisconsin Association of School District Administrators, which is linked to the WASB very closely. It's right on their main page, probably the front page.
Awesome. All right, and thanks for the work on open records, fingers crossed they stay
We're gonna keep pushing on it.
awesome. All right, next up is the discussion item on communications policy draft. So the last time this group met, not as a committee, but as a working session, we put together several next steps on our communication, I guess, public request to be able to address communication in several ways. And so we kind of put out a bullet list. I'm just curious where we're at, if we're on track for the policy committee review. We didn't really set a timeline other than, hey, they would look at it at the policy meeting on September 28th. So I just want to make sure is that still on track? We're good?
Yeah, that's our goal, is to have something ready for policy as it relates to some protocols or expectations to, I had a good discussion actually with one of the principals about communication.
Okay.
Specifically, and for Ben Franklin, I mean, we were having one of our scheduled meetings, which I talked about in the 100-day plan, and it's a focus of his. It's actually written right on his board, like a personal focus of his, which I think is outstanding. I think he's doing a good job with it at the early start here. But it was really good to see from me to the building principal, in the school that had some challenges last year with communication, but he's on top of it. It's a goal of his. Like I said, it was wide open he's got a whiteboard in his office, and I looked up and I said, that's awesome. There was a couple other things as well, but that was big.
Well, I think it's important not only from the building leader, but then also the classroom updates and a lot of the things that we talked about, just again, that transparency. I know it takes a lot of work, but no one's necessarily asking for daily at this point, but just so people can have a pulse.
Yeah, Justin's done an awesome job. I've worked over the summer too. He's actually doing a weekly newsletter in addition to, I don't know if you're in elementary where you get the email every week. He's taking that even a
Yeah,
step further
like
and he's
Terry
doing a
does.
constant
Yeah.
contact. Yeah, and I've asked him then,
Yeah.
I'm hoping you get it.
I've only
'cause
seen it
he-
once,
Okay, yeah, 'cause-
before school started.
okay, yeah, cause he's
So-
supposed to be sharing,
Okay.
adding your in the list
Yeah.
to that, so
Okay.
you should be receiving
I think
it.
it was
Okay, I'll
once.
double back with him. But he is receiving, he is sending that out every week on top of
Okay,
everything else, and we said, especially for, BF, we wanna
Yeah.
make sure that we are all over it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's doing a great job.
And is he visible, like out in bus lines and?
He is, when I've been over there quite a bit, I mean, I was there yesterday, and I was in a few bus lines, Amy was there quite a bit as well, which I
Bus line is
appreciate.
crazy, so thank you.
So several of us are there, I was talking to
Far
parents
line,
on the first day of drop off and pickup, so it's, yes, his visibility is very good and mine will be pretty constant as well, I can't always be at Ben Franklin. Wanna make sure, like today, I told the Riverside, and I was like, okay, I haven't been here, I've been over at Shady and I've been over at the high school and middle school a few times, I'm like, okay, it's all good, thank you. Then I was on playground duty or recess duty, which was great, that worked fine.
Excellent.
I'm scheduled to meet with him on September 28th, just to introduce myself and touch base because I am the liaison.
I gotta reach out to Norm.
Yeah.
Alright,
So
perfect.
where are we with, is this the last draft that we, or,
David was gonna take the lead in doing a
Okay.
draft, I think we kind of put that together, but then the
Okay.
reality is given how complex it is, I think the four major things was put a district policy together, pepper and extra content into the employee handbook, put some deliverables together for the parent and or community, so folks are aware of how to engage. And then kind of package it all together with some one-pagers to be able to say, hey, family and community, here's how you reach out and engage with us.
I was looking at the last, it was like, it's a work in progress, right?
Exactly,
Yep.
yep.
And one thought, I don't even know how many policies they had, like digging in, but I know you mentioned the policy 820 and did you put that in there, Amy, just for reference? Because you're not gonna have that in that policy, are you?
When we talked, it was in my notes that we were creating one policy that had all of those, that encompassed all of those policies within it, so that,
Okay.
right? So
So
that there's
we're
one.
deleting the other ones.
Yeah, so we will
Okay.
delete the other ones.
Alright. It'll be
Which
a
ones
big
did we
old
delete?
policy, huh?
The 810, 820.
So the
Yeah,
ones that
810,
are in the
820,
blue parentheses, I'm
those are-
assuming
those are
are what you're
official draft
deleting, and they're in
policies right
here
now.
for reference for our review on the 28th, but in the actual policy they'll be gone. But we'll bring it as a stack like we have, where we're gonna ask the board to adopt this, and if you adopt this, delete this. We'll bring it as a package.
The three here, the 810, 820.
Yeah.
So the other, this was off of some of the, I don't know which one. Oh no, this is from WASB.
Yes.
Oh, you shared this.
Yep.
I like these.
Yep.
Policies. Parent involvement, student progress reporting. I don't know.
So that's PRG.
Yeah, I think I printed those off last week.
Yeah.
The PRG's got some good, like baseline information, that's updated.
And then I sent Amy just as, hey, as I was out trolling around, because it's one of those things of, hey, why reinvent the wheel if someone else has already figured it out?
Oh, yeah.
And so I sent you.
I have it. This one?
This thing,
Yeah,
yeah,
Mine's
so
fuzzy.
it just talked about like, who do I ask? And I thought, this is actually pretty helpful. I think the one visual that we looked at, and I said, hey, I really like it, they had like, I don't know, 50 schools in their district, and I'm like, we do not have that many districts, or we don't have any buildings.
Right.
So when I saw this one, I'm like, this actually might solve, and it's something we can actually use across every single building.
Yep.
What do you go to the teacher with, what do you go to the assistant principal with, administrator, which I thought, gosh, especially with what we encountered last year with some of the challenges at BF, I don't know that people would have even naturally known to go to some of the players that were in that situation without this being called out, and superintendent, and then again, oftentimes, as we've always discussed, people will reach out to us in the community and say, hey, as a board, can you make tacos every day for lunch? And I'd be like, well, that is not my job,
Right.
but this is, so how do we work through that? So
Yep.
part of me just thought, gosh, this is probably
Yeah, I
really
appreciate
handy.
it.
And then I had sent you the item of, hey, I know we're working a lot in school safety, and I know you've seen a lot of things posted in districts, but part of it's like, but how is that baked down and communicated back to the families and to the communities? And maybe we have one already, but maybe it needs refreshing or tweaking or socializing. And so part of it's a matter of, to the extent that we can dust stuff off that we already have, and then redistribute it or make it ease of use to be able to say, hey, this is how you can communicate. I think we can't overtell people that so that they're aware of how to engage.
Yeah, was that a visual that you sent to David?
I
Yeah,
did,
I'm happy with the
You said
sign, I'm happy with the safety signage. And
but I as a
just-
parent don't see the signage unless I'm in the school. So then it's a matter of how do you take what's physically in a building and make it relevant to me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on that
Agreed.
with Chris and Troy and, it's interesting, cause it's a fine line with how much you want to be publicly available with respect to the safety.
1,000%, I agree.
So there's a line there and that's the nature of
Absolutely.
my, I sent you the picture of, I think it would be based on that.
Okay, I haven't seen the picture yet.
Okay, and I just sent it. At some point I was running through a building, took a picture of it and
Super.
emailed it, so it was today.
Alright, perfect. Yeah,
I like this, but I just feel like I kind of lean more towards this style. I feel like this should be more softened and not so
It's-
rigid.
Well, it is just a, hey,
Yeah.
inspiration, and part of it's a matter of, I don't think we have much of this period, and so part of it's just to be able to, again, help our parents and families learn how to communicate, so.
Yep.
I'm not sold, it just came up as a, oh, interesting.
I like that too, but then, given in the past at, BF and everything, like kind of, and we talked about last time, kind of like, you were talking about like packaging and marketing, like a recommitment to, I don't know how, that's your job.
Yeah.
But, that smells good, coffee.
It
But
does.
like repackaging, like a recommitment, or like, I don't know what you would, but I mean, it's kind of exciting actually. But, kind of on our side, or, all of us.
Well, part of it is we heard the response that things were non-standard and we needed to be able to put it in a place where we've got expectations across these different entities saying
Yeah.
a similar message, and then there's training that goes on to support staff, and then we go back to the public and say, because of your concerns,
Mhm.
here's what we're doing, and much of it may already exist, but now we've packaged it in a way so that it's easier for you to access and have.
And we have done more, like, in the first two newsletters, I think it was two, we beefed up like communication, like it was just a whole section on this is what happens, like, and this is what will happen, you go to the school, like, safety page, if a weather close,
Yeah.
we've done school safety, so those pieces, the longer we can pepper our newsletters and our communication with things like that
Yeah.
every week, so
Yeah.
people know where to go directly
Yeah.
to the website. And then two, we can grab that analytics off the website and see how many people are actually going to the school safety webpage to see
Okay,
if that's,
true.
And putting it with
what's working.
handbooks, cause I know I always think of like, hey, I got a thing, where do I go? I go to
Yep.
handbook, so.
Yeah, we have stuff. And the nice thing about our handbook is it's online, so we can add those pieces as we need them, so it's wonderful.
And I like too, like as a parent, I mean, I do one of these kind of things, I'll just print it out. And I'll just like fold it up and put it with my school stuff, and it's there when I need it, rather than, I like the tangibles, that's just me.
That's awesome.
Digging on my phone.
True.
So are the Google Doc,
Yeah,
is that's the draft you're that's the draft that we're happy with?
I haven't seen it.
To be a policy?
Oh, is it,
Yeah, we had changed it, we.
So I saw
Was it
you all
email-
on
was
there.
I
it
think you have,
email then?
I think you had just had it in your hand, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, this, but I don't have it like digitally. This was
Oh.
just given to me.
I see you're all on the Google Doc.
Oh, it's on the Google Doc. Okay,
Yeah.
then I'll look.
So I just wanna be prepared, cause
Oh,
even though I know it's September 28th, it's like Christmas, it sneaks up on me, even though I know what it is.
yep.
So I just wanna make sure that,
You make
next week
comments,
I'm
right?
connecting with Amy so we can get it
Yeah,
to look like it, to be ready to go with it. Because it would be best to get this through October, I mean, we don't wanna keep pushing it.
yeah.
I mean, not that we're pushing it, but
But we don't, like Shelley said, we want to push it, but we don't want to
Yeah.
push it.
yeah, we're not
So we
gonna
want
rush
to
it,
be
but
right.
I want it to be like
Yes,
as close to
done.
final
Yeah.
as we can for the 28th, so I just wanna make sure that in that Google Doc, up through the end of next week, if there's anything that needs to be done, put a comment in there,
Okay.
put something in there so that we're ready. And then, and I apologize because I missed last time because I was on my deadline, it was maybe on my deathbed
and
like
I was
Amy's
like,
now.
Yeah,
I did
no,
not
David
do
said-
that, I am
Yeah,
not
right.
responsible for that,
David
it's too
said-
far.
I sent her home.
It's too far in duration, I'm not responsible.
That's true, no, I'm
But it wasn't,
not blaming it on you.
That's why you guys sit
I
down
made
there.
it through new hire orientation and I was completely pooping out at the end and David took pity on me. Those other things that you're talking about, does
Yes.
Amy have those things?
Everybody
And
knows
our-
those.
Okay, so
So
like that,
There's this one too.
David sent it in Google Docs as well.
okay,
So we
So
all
as
got
long
it
as-
outlined, so.
So which one are we working off of?
So this is the inventory list of all the parts and pieces when we think of what we're doing to address the whole
Right.
improvement. And then you have a policy. I didn't print it out, but I did see it as I was
Right.
catching up on Google Docs. So I made a note.
I think
I'll
I
go look
added
at your
those.
revised draft and we'll get you comments yet this week. So
Okay.
as you guys prepare for
Okay,
content for 928, you have our feedback.
okay, and I think those notes, if I'm remembering right now, I think are on the top of that.
on the top, okay, just so
Yes. Okay,
by next Friday,
Oh, that's
you know, we'll have everything we need in there.
Okay,
And then anything that you feel should be like an exhibit
yeah.
that we would
Amy has
also
this
have
one.
in board docs, you know,
Maybe
attached on
competing.
there so that
Whatever.
on the
No,
28th,
well, Amy
we
will
can,
whip up
we can get it
something.
as close to perfect for whatever the October date is.
Okay,
Beautiful.
That's
I
not
just
to be
shared that again with
ready.
all of you, I shared
Yeah.
that with you as well, so.
okay.
I now figured out the problem and why I wasn't getting any of your Google Docs.
What was it?
My email
So
was not
that's your school
forwarded.
district.
It had my email address in, but it was set to do not forward. So I had somehow along the way the radio switched off. And
You
so-
probably got
So
like,
then I put I didn't even have to re-enter the email, like the email was still in there, so I did forward. So I manually moved everything from
Oh
one
my
email to the other one.
gosh.
So I now have all those missing emails from
oh
last week.
geez.
About 30 minutes into
And then if you had something from the policy resource guide that you
Yeah.
liked, WASB,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just let me know what number it is of theirs.
well, 345.2 is student progress reporting. I mean, you know. And then policy 811.1
I'm adding it to the top.
is parent involvement,
That's right.
I
that two-way
think
communication.
Sarah was the one that actually printed those off and brought them.
Yeah, these are nice.
Okay,
So we'll ultimately have a policy and also procedure too connected to
Yes,
that?
yes.
That will be coming to policy.
Like these kinds of things.
we're gonna figure out what's the
Procedure.
policy and what's the procedure.
Yeah, we will.
And then we'll split them up and make them what they are. Sometimes we have policies that are actually a procedure and no.
Exactly. Like I know I'm looking through this and I'm like, I'm writing procedure on some of them and I'm like, oh.
This policy committee has really gotten itself together. As we.
We don't wanna rip apart your
Well, we don't wanna, toot our horn too much.
Alright, so we've got homework on that. So
Okay.
we'll review policy/procedure for
Yeah.
adequate content
Yep.
in preparation for your 928.
Okay, perfect.
And exhibits, yeah. I think we have it all. I don't think we need to add.
We shoved everything we could
Yeah.
into that.
Oh,
She's like, I
Quite
put
a
them on one
policy.
page and there's like several quadrants with different visuals
I
and
mean,
real
it's-
people. I want it to be effective more than I care what it looks like, so based on the content where we land, we've given you
Exactly.
inspiration, but feel free to do with it what you want.
Right, like you have to see the vision of it,
Don't
right?
be
Like,
Chris's.
there's a vision and
Don't be
then there's the
Chris's.
action of it
Just
all.
kidding, Chris.
The timeline is like.
What I said is as much as it is important to be responsive, I don't wanna rush it.
Yeah.
And so if you guys get it into policy and there's big questions that come up out of it, I would rather we circle the wagons to get it right before it comes to the board. And when I do want it to come to the board, the timing for me is that it is packaged with the other standalone pieces so that an entire package goes forward. So coming out of final board approval, Amy's in a position to be able to kind of do a campaign right off the bat to say, here's some important work that's been driven and improved based on our community's feedback.
Yeah, it's
So if it takes a
October.
little time to pull it
Yeah,
all
I mean-
together, I would rather get it right than I
Yeah,
would time.
I'm not for rushing necessarily. I think the word is out. Communication is the key or, the focus,
But
but
sometimes for efficiency, if there are a lot of discussion that's to be had, sometimes having a work session with the two committees is probably more productive.
luckily
It's-
I'm like
It's
a
just the bouncing
liaison.
back and forth to me is not efficient time.
I plan to
So-
attend on the 28th, so
Okay.
Okay,
that speeds it up.
So then,
So like we had joint with CNL and Paul, it just made
Yeah.
it
I
so
won't
much
vote,
easier.
but I'll join.
Yeah.
But if we have to.
we don't even have to have it be joined, we can just have it be policy
And then
committee and
invite,
invite.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
well,
that would be
technically,
better.
every board member is always invited to every
Right,
committee,
true.
but we can specifically invite Shelley and Sarah.
Yeah, you can pass it
And
on to
then
Sarah.
We're still voting, I mean, then policy is still, you know, for the minutes and the whatever, but they're there, so we don't have to have another one.
Yeah,
So,
And then we'd be
That's also-
October 9 and 23
okay,
for the board cycle, and then if it's passed on October 23rd,
alright.
that really gives you time in November to get it out before the holidays.
Yep.
You know, we're in full swing and stuff, so it's not bad timing.
No. Super.
Okay.
Alright. Alright, next up is any future agenda items.
Oh, I didn't even go that far in my mind, but
Super. You don't have to have
so
anything.
no, I don't really have anything at this point. I think we have our hands full.
Yes, I think we're good with scope. Next meeting date, I can't recall, we didn't set one the last time, did we? Okay.
Do you wanna do it after the?
Yep. You know, would it be quite offensive if I sent an email out with possible dates?
No, that's fine.
Because I just realized Lauren's basketball schedule is not in my phone and I wanna be able to not commit if I have to go pick her up and do a ride. So I will do meeting setting via emails.
Good, cause I left my handy planner at home.
What? File of facts is
I
at
don't use my
home?
phone.
You mean that paper thing?
Yeah, the paper thing.
Okay, got it.
Alright,
I'm old school.
I will add her games
Just so
and
you
then
know, our
we'll make this
paper and
happen.
pen never fail.
Exactly.
Okay. You're set? Alright, are we ready? Then I will,
Oh, sure.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second, so adjourn
We're
at
both in favor.
5:01.
And you and I both have 29 minutes to get to football.
It's just up the road, it'll be fine. Are you gonna go?
I'm going.
You are?
You did?
Yes.
Thank God, I would get
Yes.
cash.
Yes, the Boosters is open, so they run the same stand you saw me buy.
Oh,
And
good.
It's a lot.
don't forget, Amy, we're still streaming.
So you have it all in front of you. Well, and that's outside was,